Hopefully we can establish in this kind of meeting how a project, like when a project manager should be doing 301 redirects versus a developer, how to do those redirects quickly and easily to make clients happy. It's really nice to be able to tell a client, be like, hey, this is broken, and you can just go in and do it really quickly. Be like, hey, already took care of it, no problem, versus having to wait for somebody else to do it. So it's kind of just to empower you. And then also understand the questions. Mel asked some really good questions about site mapping and things like that. Like, how do we not make more work for ourselves? And my takeaway from some of Mel's questions. So I think there's some good stuff there as well.
Yeah, so just want to take out like a bottleneck of if you have one redirect we need to set, this is going to go over how to do that, which is, I think, important to know, but also speak to like a big scale, large scale project with lots of redirects, how to like manage that and what tools do we use, because you guys are setting them all for like an access for help.
Could everybody that's dialed in here, Laura?
What's that?
I just want to make sure that everybody's
I can hear.
Mel thumbs up.
Here. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
No one's slacking me about it.
Great. Awesome. So I'm going to say, just because this is more discussion and less like me presenting something. So I kind of wanted to walk through this. Mel asked a really good question here in the doc. 2-minute summary of what a 301 redirect is. So a 301 redirect literally does two things. Number one, from an SEO perspective, it tells Google, hey, this used to live here and now it's over here. From a user perspective, it actually sends the person to the new place. So no matter what link they click, if it's on an old their old version of their website, or it's anywhere else on the internet, it'll send them to the new place. So it's not only a map, but also kind of transports them there. We use them whenever there's a page that needs to live somewhere else for some reason under a new URL. And then we can then redirect people there and tell Google it lives over here now for SEO purposes. The kind of point of it is we want to make less work for ourselves when we need to. And also I want to have like an important caveat here that clients will often say, like, we found these 404 pages. These pages aren't working. 404 pages are not bad. And I want to empower everybody to tell clients that 404 pages, if there's no kind of coordinating page and we didn't move that content somewhere else, we should not just redirect 404s to the home page. It's incredibly confusing for a user. If you went somewhere and something's broken because it doesn't exist on the site anymore, we should tell them that. Versus just sending them to the homepage and they're like, wait, I thought I was going to this article about this. So 404 pages aren't bad, and we need to make sure that clients know that. Pages should 404 if there's no correct content to send them to. So it's really important when we're going to use kind of some of the tactics here, like Laura said, we're going to talk how to do larger redirects working with the developer, but also how to do kind of smaller one-off redirects. So I'll address Ithaca's question there as well. And then Jennifer asked, do we have a spreadsheet or template to use for this, one that is client-friendly? Yeah, I'm going to show you kind of how to put that together. It's in this doc. There's some screenshots as well.
I made a note before I read the whole thing.
It's fine. It's totally fine. Sorry, also I was talking about you like you weren't here. I just want to make sure that Mel and Brent and Zoe and Daniel could hear as well, and everybody else who's on. Cool. So the current write process says engineer to supply project manager with an export of all page names. We're going to add in marketing team. So this can be a checkbox, marketing team to supply project manager with export of all current page titles and URLs.
Just a note on that one right now, it's in the audit phase.
Okay.
You want like a reminder in here too. So in the audit phase, there's a checkbox for Jeff to do the Screaming Frog. Screaming Frog is a plugin that lets us quickly get a list of all the existing pages and to keep it in the project folder. So we have that from very, very early on in the project.
But what if we're not doing like an audit?
Jeff said he's doing an audit on 100% projects.
Resolved and delete. Okay.
So I can add it though, as like if you've
kind
of forgotten over the course of your project and it's a smaller site.
Yeah, I would personally say double check it, just because I know I wrote this later that like I didn't get it and I was midway through project, so
Yeah. The
you know,
problem,
that could be
a
a
lot
thing.
of projects that are like midstream right now in terms of like when did Rike roll out and when did we have a template that actually
Got it.
noted everything. So anyone that's kind of like halfway through their project might be forgetting it.
All right, cool. So what I've made it say here is double check that project manager has Screaming Frog export Jeff.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it. I'm updating the template right now.
Great. Then using a Google Sheet, you'll identify the desired old to new redirects. And we'll see kind of some notes below here. The engineer confirms how that's going to be set up because you have to write them differently. And then you'll give that sheet to the engineer to create a text file and kind of make sure that they're there. That's where the PM responsibilities, as I understand them, end with I create the Google Sheet and I give it to the engineer to create the redirects. There's some examples in here.
Sorry, can we back up on that? Because like,
Yep.
is that your responsibility? Because like, how do you know what all the redirects should be? Isn't it the PM taking that Screaming Frog export and working with the client to say
What do you mean? How do you know? Who is the you?
you? Literally.
Well,
Like-
I'm out of it now.
Yes, yes. You just said something that made it sound like it leaves the PM's plate, and maybe I misheard.
So the last stage is I've got this Google Sheet with, and we'll walk through how to do this in a second,
Mhm.
with old URLs to new URLs,
Yeah.
and then they give that to the engineer to create the
Yeah,
redirects.
the PMs, we own that. What is it today and what does it become?
Yep.
Like marketing helps us get a list of everything that does exist as the beginnings of our spreadsheet. We, with the client and our team, need to confirm what becomes what so that developers aren't just making like URL string choices at random. I think that kind of happens sometimes, or we just don't think about it at the last minute and then it gets handed off to the developer. That's the large scale process.
Yep.
I saw Ithaca asking about that. Does that make sense?
Is that, well, okay. So,
Sorry. Didn't realize I was on mute. Does
Oh.
that make sense from like an ownership perspective of who's responsible for what part of generating that spreadsheet of current state and new state?
Yeah, to me it does.
At what point in the project do you get the current list?
That is,
part of the audit.
yeah,
is-
which is in right after discovery. Jeff's gonna use his plugin to pull that list. So like you could start working on this as sitemap decisions are being made and sections are killed off or sections are added.
Just,
Yeah.
I think he's already just
Okay.
done a bunch of stuff.
So on his audit ticket. So, okay, go up. Go up.
While Jennifer's looking for something, the one thing I want to give you an example of is a redirect versus a rewrite. Sometimes if the URL structure has changed, we're making a good example would be Signal, where for some examples, we change /blog to /resources. Instead of writing a literal redirect for every single one of those things, we can just do a rewrite and change /blog to /resources because everything else in the URL stays the same. So the example would be like blog dash stuff just becomes blog. We can do one rewrite versus full kind of redirects for every
Sorry,
single one.
I don't want to keep talking on top of each other. Jennifer
Okay.
actually has an example of where Jeff has finished the audit. So
Mhm.
I've asked him to put it in the project folder on Team Drive. So if there's not a spreadsheet there, then in Write, just at him, like, where did you put the Screaming Frog export? And that's just going to be like list of URLs.
Yeah, I've got a,
Screaming Frog.
yep,
You're saying plug in. It's not a plug in.
no.
We don't have to install anything on the client's current site.
No.
No.
It's just like a tool that
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah, it's
uses.
just like,
Yeah.
it's like,
That's what I confirm.
Yeah.
I know that some people get hesitant, like, oh, you gotta plug it.
Okay, no,
No,
I get that.
it's not a
Yeah,
plugin.
It's just, it lets us really quickly
Yeah.
grab all
Yep.
just like I would, yeah, just like some, no, that's just a ticket for him to remember the tool.
so I have a screenshot in here. Jennifer, is this what, I don't know if he exported the like page titles or what the export he used.
I just had a quick flash.
She's got a link to the audit doc, but not like just
Cool.
the rough export of it. Which,
And-
by the way, maybe you know the answer to this. Are these getting shared with clients all the time, or what happens after Jeff makes these?
Are those getting shared with clients? No.
what do we do with them?
What do you do? That's where it's literally coming up.
Okay.
What to do with those files?
Not the deck.
The audit deck?
Yeah, he made an audit deck.
Yeah, the audit deck can be shared. This is something we were talking about recently as well. The audit deck should, and this is the way it's going out in proposals now, thanks to Andrew. The audit will be an internal thing that we discuss during the sitemap phase, whenever it makes sense. We're not going to share it as a deliverable anymore to the clients, because otherwise we have a client like SAWS, which is the San Antonio Water System, wanting a presentation because it says, we will present it to you. They're the San Antonio Water Company. People Google them to find out about the San Antonio Water Company. They literally have no SEO, there's nothing there for us to share with them. Half of the audit is us doing an audit on their current website, which is going away. And the other half is us talking about the value of their SEO, which is zero, because they are the thing they are. So it was a complete waste of time, but they were very adamant because it was in the proposal that we presented. So from now it says we do that. We do an internal discussion. So this is only internal unless it is, and this is really important for project managers, if it will enhance the value of your relationship, if it, hey, we need something, there's hiccups in the project, can we buy some time by reviewing the SEO audit with them? Can we improve our relationship there? There's definitely opportunity for that. I want to be able to support your work, and if this is an important client or somebody, for whatever reason, I'll let you decide. But if there's a reason you think that we should share this stuff with them to build that relationship or to enhance your relationship with them, let's talk about that. Otherwise, this should just be internal.
And then who do you think that benefits the most, or what should be the lifespan of that document? How does it help us over time?
Yeah. So
is it a quick reference for what are really popular pages? We have.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever even looked at one in detail, if I'm going to be honest.
That's fine. So what's really valuable is this question Mel asked at the end, which says, are these steps these all seem like these are at the end of a project. What should a content strategist or project manager do to consider during the sitemap phase? One of the things that you need to consider with every single project is this client getting a lot of search traffic for things that are not branded? And what I mean by that is things that are not based on their name, or even what they do is unbranded. So if they're the San Antonio Water System, where they are everything is very branded and they're getting a lot of search traffic. Oh, we're getting so much search traffic, but it's all because people are just Googling the name of them. Less important, but a good example would be Wendella, who does have a lot of branded search, but we were going to eliminate one of their pages. Another good example was Pathways. I was just talking to Kyle about this. We were going to eliminate one of their pages, and that page is pulling in a ton of search traffic. And if we just straight wholesale delete it and it doesn't have somewhere else to live with a redirect, pretty much they're just going to lose that traffic forever. And what'll end up happening is we'll have to backstep later. This kind of circles into Andrew's question in here of, does this affect SEO and how? When we do a redesign, the analogy I like to use, it's if you're going to visit your grandparents and you haven't been there in a while, a redesign is them painting their house a new color. At first, you might drive almost by it a little bit because it's green now instead of red. But if we're changing the URL, they've moved completely. It's not just a change of house color. They live on a different street now. And we need to make sure that we have directions to where they live. It has big impact on SEO. I will say, in as many cases as possible, do not change their URL structure at all.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said things for us to consider in the beginning of a project are search traffic for things that are not branded. Is that something that literally we should be doing, or is that why we should be involving SEO early?
Yeah, when you look at, I think Jeff should have there should be a top pages and top keywords in the SEO audit. If you look at that and see keywords and pages that are ranking for things that are not branded, that should give you a good idea of, all right, we need to keep these. and ideally keep everything they have. Like, we don't want to eliminate pages. It might make sense from a user perspective of, all right, they kind of have, it seems to me like they've doubled up this stuff, but if Google sees it as two different things, we need to keep it two different things.
Yeah, so in regards to all this, like in the template now, there are a lot of reminders about like what thought process to use. If maybe we need to include Brendan or someone else on the marketing team in our sitemap decisions. Let me see here. Like some of those cues are like, is it 50 plus pages? Are we proposing like a large organizational change to the site? Changes to the URL structure? And do they receive significant search traffic? So like if those are starting to be like, yes, it's probably like, should be a bigger activity of like hammering at the sitemap and making decisions about URLs.
Yeah. And Kyle, how long would you say like it took us to figure out some stuff that's really helpful for pathways? 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not long.
Yeah, quick. So you'll have the audit and then like scheduling a quick 30-minute meeting with, I'll leave it a little more open just for availability purposes with myself or Jeff to just kind of, hey, we're doing this project. Here's some gist about it. Can we kind of review just to make sure we're not screwing anything up? And the answer will always be yes. So definitely schedule those based on those cues that are in Wrike. The ideal, so to kind of answer Daniel's question here, when does this happen in Wrike terms? We've kind of already addressed that. Daniel, do you have any follow-up questions about that?
That makes sense to me. Thank you.
Cool. So the ideal outcome is that you receive an export which looks similar to this, where we'll export all the page titles, and what you'll get is here's the address of the current thing, here's the title, and then what you will create is a document that literally just says it is the current page and then what is the new page. The new page, it's very important that you will have a staging URL. What's going to be really helpful between you and the developer is replacing that with the actual URL. So when they write it, they don't want to write the redirects to the staging site. They're going to have to write it to like the future state of the client site. So your final document will literally look like this, with like current and new.
That beautiful and client facing enough for you?
It is gorgeous.
Great. And it's really helpful. I'll be honest with you. I told Signal they had asked about some redirects, and I said, cool. I'll just because of the holidays and stuff, I'll have it done January 7th. And if you have a really great savvy client, like we do with Jessica at Signal, she emailed me back 24 hours later and was like, I filled it in. Can you make it live? And that's done. So, and I did this exactly the way I'm advising you to do it with like, so in a smaller case like this, yes, there's 17 of them, but I just did them using the redirection plugin. The danger, there's some caveats in here as well about this. The danger with using a plugin is like, for example, on the Access website right now, the plugin is broken and I have no idea why. It doesn't work. There's a huge red warning on it. If the redirection plugin goes down, or with the new, like I think the new version of WordPress just came out, if that breaks the plugin, all of our clients' redirects that we have in the plugin break because they're not coded into the site. As much as this is like a quick fix and a small fix, it doesn't happen often that it breaks. But it is something to be wary of because we are literally relying on a plugin. So we do not want to wholesale use this going forward.
Yeah, I don't think I understood that till now. Like, that's a bad problem. If the only thing holding those redirects together is a plugin, then it's,
Yeah.
goes down. Not good.
But if it's like, hey, our main, our, I don't even know what an example would be. Our cart page is broken today and we like nobody can check out on our website, or we're doing this big promotion and the place where everybody goes to opt in is broken. Can you set up this redirect for us? Yes. Like we can do it quickly. But the goal is just to give you the ability to do smaller ones. That's where the plugin comes in. Anything bigger, it should just be a quick send this to one of our developers and they'll be able to put them in just because they'll be able to write them for either Apache or Nginx.
Okay, so we got 5 minutes.
Yep.
Do we think we're going to get through how to use that?
So for those of you that have looked at the doc, if you have clarifying questions on these steps, it's pretty built out with screenshots and step-by-step instructions and GIFs where appropriate. If you have more questions about it, there's also kind of a check at the end. So you can kind of hard check to make sure it's working. Sometimes I run into issues where you update the plugin and there's some caching issues and doesn't appear to be working. You can always use this. I don't know it's like browse SEO. It's a play on words, which makes it Browseo, I guess.
Oh, I hate that.
It's so dumb. I mean, I got what they were trying to do, but it's just so irritating. Anyways, so you can use that to check and make sure that things are working appropriately. You'll be able to see it in there. So that's a good quick check. If you have any questions on exactly how to do it, hey, I'm trying to set one up really quickly. It's not making sense. Can you take a look at this? By all means, happy to help there. But I tried to build the step-by-step process of how to use the plugin pretty thoroughly. Again, like this is not every time, I want to keep reiterating that. We don't want to rely on the plugin, but it does give you the ability to do one or two kind of quick ones. Any questions for the last?
One I'm going to set soon for the support box. Redirect the form to a reg form.
Nice.
Yay.
That's just
Yeah.
writing the each access file. So if the plugin explodes, all of the redirects are understand.
They should just live in the HD-Access file. Yep.
I'll use your steps later today or Monday, and I'll see if I have any questions. This is on the Click website. I need to redirect /support to something else. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to do that with those steps.
Yep.
Cool. I think this was super helpful. I like doing these kind of quick focus sessions with you.
Cool.
Like obviously whenever we meet with you, I think it could devolve into like a billion questions. So I'm down to do these as frequently as you guys think is helpful, or different topics you want to talk about. What do you think?
Yes, and I want to ask a question before we leave. How helpful would it be to you as project managers to have a document like this to when you do the handoff to clients, if we're not doing ongoing for them, meaning they'll be responsible for their redirects from then on? How helpful do you think a document like this would be for them? My feeling was that like having SOPs we can give to clients is such a value add of like, hey, if your marketing team needs to do one really quickly, instead of doing a training on a redirect plugin or educating them, you can just give them something like this. Is that valuable?
Sure. It's like bring on more questions and then like, hey, can I actually talk about it?
Mhm.
With the Pandora's box.
That's not.
Okay.
But I mean, for the right client, oh yeah, that's great. Makes sense.
All right. So I guess in the goal of creating more of these SOPs, if you want to send this to a client, please let me know and we'll create. I mean, I'll obviously pull out like the info about Write and stuff. So this will be internal for now, but I would love to have a client-facing one. I think it's such a value add, especially maybe not during pitches, but also just to build the relationship of like, oh yeah, we have an SOP library that you'll have access to as one of our clients in case you have questions or whatever else.
On our website. Let's say it should be on our website. Can this be a totally public facing? Yeah.
No.
Just for clients.
We can't public face these.
Why?
Because that's a good question, because I created them with somebody else to use internally and not like we can't sell these, we can't public face them or whatever. We can use them with ourselves, we can use them with our clients.
So we couldn't have like a working page on the quick site. That we send clients to like to.
I mean, we could just share them on the Google Doc.
Brandon, you're saying we'd have to rebuild them. They're not really like yours to share for external profit.
I mean, if we rebuilt them, they would literally be like, this is the reason I worked on this with somebody else is because I wanted somebody else with experience with how to kind of set these up in an SOP format.
Cool.
I mean, we could rebuild them if we wanted to, but
That's okay.
that sounds like a boatload of work just to have it.
I know this isn't the purpose of this conversation, so yeah,
Right.
we can talk about it later. Cool.
Sure.
Sorry.
I think what we're getting at is this is extraordinarily valuable for us managing a project, but it's also great, like, somebody's going to Google how to do this anyway, so why not position ourselves as the experts in sharing this knowledge globally. So if there's a way to synthesize this into a really good.
Yeah.
I want to know how to do redirects. Every,
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's something we can talk about on the content team, as far as like goals and time. But that definitely makes sense. I see the advantage of public facing, but I don't. I'm happy right now. We can send these in Google Doc format to clients.
Yep. I think it's, even if we don't want to go with like a public facing thing, like I think it'd be way cooler in the be a student as a teacher, be people focused. To hey, you're a client, we just launched your site. Hey, here's a link to even if like unindexed knowledge base on our site. It's like just for clients only. Like here's a link to our client knowledge base.
Yep.
You want to know how to go there, search it, find it.
That's awesome.
Separate conversation.
Yep. All right, cool. Thanks, anybody. Any other questions, please add them to the doc. It'll notify me via email, and then, or just send me a DM on Slack